Hello everyone. My name is Sahir or Rishi, and I've been putting this off for a while because I finished this book like gosh, it's been like 2 months, 3 months at this point, 3 months, um, closer to 3 months at this point that I finished War and Peace, and I'm finally gonna talk about it because I've just been putting this off for a long time. There's a couple books I finished, since my last video, which was so long ago. I finished a lot of books since then that I wanted to talk about. War and Peace, I finished Kokoro. I finished Life for Sale by Yukio Mishima. I finished The Dispossessed. Expect a review on The Dispossessed, and I don't know about Kokoro and Life for Sale. We'll see about that one. But yeah, today, in any case, we're going to be talking about War and Peace. So, this book, what is so special about it, the one thing that you may know about War and Peace is that it is long. It is a long book, and for sure, it is the longest I've read. I think the second longest, the one before it was Brothers Karamazov. Um, And as you can imagine with that, there's a lot of content to cover, and there's a lot that went into this book that it's really just not like any other book I've read in that way, where, I mean, he just is just going. He has so much to say about all kinds of things that it's not just the story of the characters and the Napoleonic Wars. It's so much more. His main concern, I would say, in this novel is not even just the story. That's kind of even more of an ornament, I'd argue. I would say his main concern with this is history. He wants to know what makes history move, and that I think is War and Peace. That he, it sounds stupid, but he wants to know, what is war? What is history? Like, what makes those, it's like generic, but it's like, what makes those things go? What makes human history go? And he has a couple arguments in that, but let's start with the story first. So, War and Peace, it covers, or it follows an ensemble of characters. Um there's so many characters. There's like a whole appendix. I'll show you the copy I have. Take a second. So here, that's my copy. Actually it's my brother's. All my books are basically from my brother, or just I'm like, I have no original anything. It's all my brother. So yeah, that's my copy. It's like huge, and I'm so happy. I'm so proud I got through this. Like I actually finished it. I'm so proud of that. But yeah, so it follows these characters. The main three I would say are Natasha, Pierre, and Andre. Um, and I mean, they are just like the one thing Tolstoy he gets really praised for is how realistic these characters are. Like they are just characters that will always stick with you. I feel like I know them. Like you're with them for so long, it's like you know them. It's like when you watch a TV show. That's how I kind of treated this book, is that like I would just read a couple chapters here and there. That's how you tackle it. And it's like kind of, I saw someone on Reddit, they said it's like a jar of peanuts, and it's like you don't eat the whole jar of peanuts like as fast as you can. You space it out through the months or whatever, because too much peanuts is like a lot. So these characters, they do kind of become a part of your life in a way, where you get invested in what happens to them, and like he takes you into their inner thoughts and their monologue, internal monologue, and their dealings with people, and it's very relatable in that way, even though they're in like a totally different setting. as they're in you know like Napoleonic War Russia, like in the 1800s Russia. Like what do I, as like a brown guy from Ohio, 22-year-old, know about that? Nothing, right? Like I wasn't there. I'm not Russian guy. So yeah, but even then there's something so like human about them that's just incredible. um Especially I found Pierre to be very relatable. Pierre and Andre especially. Especially Pierre though. I really liked Pierre because he's just very sensitive guy. He is kind of a lot of things where he thinks himself one way and then he acts the other way, and like actually all of them are kind of like that, but he kind of sees himself as like this maybe like intellectual guy. He's like above the Russian society that he grew up in, and really he's not. Like he indulges in it quite a bit and whatever, like especially towards the middle. But I don't want to spoil anything. You have to read it yourself and get to know these guys like Pierre and Andre and Natasha, Anatole. Everyone. It's a great book. It's really a great book. So that's the story, is that it talks about them and how they engage with the war that's going on around them, how they engage with the bigger events in history, and they're kind of the smaller lives that are in that time. uh so that's kind of the whole idea of their stories, is that they're like the smaller people in the bigger people's history. And this brings me to the next point of this book that I think is the main kind of thesis, if you will. There's a lot he has to say about history, but I think the main takeaway is this, because he writes constantly about this. Oh, like he repeats it all the time. He's repeating this basically like every other chapter almost, it seemed like, to me at least, that he'll describe these events and these things that happened in the war, like these battles, like the battle Borodino, and like these huge, battles that happen. They're grand, all the like things that happen in them. These guys, they wanted to go here, but then the French went here, the Russians went here, and and they ended up fighting over here, whatever, shit like that. um and his whole kind of idea is that we give so much credit to these big men like Napoleon. Napoleon is I'm not gonna lie, bro. This guy, like, he hates Napoleon. I feel like I feel like he doesn't hate him. He just kind of thinks he's like massively overrated. Like he describes Napoleon as kind of like an idiot who like things fall into place for him. And this is the whole thing, is that he is kind of an opponent of big man history. I mean, he's a total opponent of big man history. And he says people like to make it out that like Napoleon, he had everything figured out and he's such a strategic genius, or like the guys like Alexander, or like these things that happen, right? They're all attributed to what one or two or a handful of men wanted to happen. And he says, "Oh my god, that is just such stupid like bull crap, basically, dude. Like that is so stupid." And it's kind of funny because like you can't help but agree with him in that way, because he lays out his arguments out like very well. That like he lays them out very well. And it's kind of interesting because I think in this day and age, it's very prominent that we kind of attribute all the wrongdoings in the world to one or two great men. Great, great in like the sense that they're bigger, not like great men, like benevolent or like nice. Uh, but really, he says more like these guys are more like the puppets, or like they're like they're like the pieces that of the puzzle that fall into place in like a much bigger sprawl of events, like millions of factors that go into this. Like had Napoleon not done this, this would have never happened. Then if this never happened, then that would have never happened. Then if that never happened, then this would never happen, and Napoleon wouldn't have gotten in this situation. That's like what he says, is like there are so many little things that came together to make his invasion of Russia happen, and that make our lives happen by extension. And this is the main point of the book, if you ask me. I mean, this is what he constantly refers back to, is like, why do wars start? You know, why do people die? Why is there such a need for humans to go to war, you know? Like, what is it? Why? Because no one wants to be there, and no one wants to see their. He fully portrays like the impact of war that it has on people, on the people, and like he shows like what loss looks like, and like how it affected the smaller lives of the people in Russia. You know, he focuses on the aristocracy. He only briefly touches on the peasant class, but even then, you know, people suffer all the same. They have the same questions about life, whether they're rich or poor, and like people have different answers. I mean, it's such a massive project of a book. I can't possibly describe it in like this maybe like 10 to 15-minute video. But overall, I would definitely recommend you check it out. I mean, it's been some months since I read it, and it's still, I think about it all the time, and not all the time, but like I think about it quite a bit, and it's stuck with me a lot. And I think it's a book that, you know, I'll remember reading, and I'll remember that experience of me reading it, and it'll kind of always be a part of me in that way. I guess that's true with every book, but especially with this book. You know, as someone, I love history and I love these things, and you have these ways of thinking like, oh, that, oh, this was all due because of this one man who caused these things to happen. And this is my last thought. I'll say one more thing here, because I read Crime and Punishment quite a bit ago. It was probably I want to say the beginning of my sophomore year I read that. So that was a long time ago. That was like 3 years ago at this point. Um, and you say like, I mean, his whole thing in that book, Dostoevsky, is like that, you know, Raskolnikov, he has this idea of big men, you know, and how they are the ones, they're the only ones, or like the Nietzschean idea of like the Ubermensch, that these guys, they're so they're devoid of any emotion, or they have some special quality that we don't have as regular people. And he specifically, I don't know what it is, these Russian guys, you know, I mean, probably because they got invaded by him, is Napoleon. You know, Napoleon is kind of the crux. He's like the main figure that Raskolnikov refers to and he sees himself as. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that. Is then you know, the whole point of the book is that he finds out he's not like that. Like, he's really not that guy. um, and there's a lot to be said about how much credit we give these like figureheads and these like big guys, quote unquote, in history, you know, and how we kind of, that's how we narrate things for people, is like, this one guy was the reason for this to happen. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of my closing thought on that, that it's kind of interesting how that relates. And overall, yeah, I would recommend checking this book out. It is quite a big task, but I think it's well worth it. It's a very rewarding book. It's not very hard to read either. Just treat it like you are just getting a dose of it every day. Be comfortable with the idea that you're going to need to commit to it for a little bit. And I think you won't be disappointed. I think it's a great book, and I would give it probably like a 9.3 out of 10. Like, this is probably one of the best books I've ever read, if not the best. I mean, it's definitely top 3 for me. So yeah, check it out. Next time, right now I'm reading The Master and Margarita. So maybe I'll make a review on that. I don't really know about that book right now. You know, we'll see. We'll get into that later. But yeah, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you want.